Hello everyone, it's me, John Lorden. Welcome to a Brain Scratch Searchlight update episode. Today we're going to touch on 3 cases that we've covered previously. There's been some recent developments. I wish there was some good news. Unfortunately, we're going to be looking into some tragic updates in a few of these cases. However, if you are unfamiliar with any of them, I'm going to have links in the description box below for the original Brain Scratch episodes on each, so you can check those out and get caught up. But let's start with the disappearance of Danielle Stislicki. At patch.com, we get an update that Danielle Stislicki disappearance has new evidence for lab, the police are saying. But a little more important than that, there's also some comments that have been made. Elizabeth Rose Newton told reporters that her sister is married to a security guard who has been staying at a Berkeley home investigators in the Stislicki case searched on December 22nd. Newton's brother-in-law is not a suspect or person of interest in the case, but a mattress and other evidence were seized. Now, there's been a couple of articles that have come out with comments from her about this case, and some of those have been pretty straightforward about, well, it is not looking good for my brother-in-law. So she doesn't claim to have any information that isn't already known to police, but what we do learn from her is that it seems like he is not doing a very good job of cooperating. Besides the evidence collected at the Berkeley home on Oxford Street, investigators also have some new evidence that will be turned over to the State Forensic Lab for analysis. Unfortunately, this article does not get into much more detail about what that evidence is. The security guard staying at the Berkeley home worked with Stislicki at MetLife in Southfield, and Newton told WXYZ TV she believes the two were together the day Stislicki disappeared. In another article I had read on this, she was commenting that I guess the security guard's wife was out of town during this period of time. In an interview with the Daily Tribune, Newton said police told her eyewitnesses saw Stislicki and her brother-in-law going into the residence and seeing Stislicki's Jeep parked outside. The black Jeep Renegade, along with Stislicki's purse and personal items friends said she wouldn't have left behind, was found outside her apartment, but police have said that they believe someone other than Stislicki parked it there. What I do find interesting is we know that her Jeep was parked in the spot that it usually parked in back at her apartment building. So is it potential that they might have had a relationship that was going on here that we're just unaware of? I don't know for sure, but this is kind of at least the latest insight that we're getting into this case. There is still no update on where Danielle actually is. And as far as I can see, there's no charges of any kind that have been formally brought up, but this article is strongly suggesting that a case is being put together. So there might be some charges coming forth soon. Let's move on to our next case. This is a case that we covered that actually happened quite a while ago and has had a major development in it from people.com. A popular high school history teacher, Tara Grinstead, left a dinner party on October 22, 2005 and was never seen again. For more than 11 years, her mysterious disappearance baffled people, but everything changed Thursday when the Georgia Bureau of Investigation announced that authorities had a suspect in custody. Ryan Alexander Duke, 33, has been charged with murder, burglary, aggravated assault, and concealment of a body. He is in jail until a grand jury convenes on April 12th. He has not yet entered a plea, and it is unclear if he has retained an attorney. Here is a picture of Ryan Duke. Duke was 21 when Grinstead went missing, a graduate of Irwin County High School where Grinstead taught. He is remembered as a quiet, respectful student who was never a disciplinary problem. Prosecutors alleged a shocking sequence of events that in the course of a burglary, Duke used his hands to kill Grinstead. Now, what's very curious about this is Tara's body has not been located yet, so they have to have some information that seems pretty strong for them to know the story this completely. There isn't any formal explanation that I've been able to find. I did find some mention that a tip came in to police, that literally someone walked in and told them, this is what happened, this is the guy that did it. So I'm expecting that that tipster brought forth these details about how the murder was actually committed. Over at Valdosta Daily Times, we get a shot of him actually appearing in court. Judge Heather Culpepper revealed Duke is charged not only with murder, but with burglary, aggravated assault, and concealing a death. And Duke uttered only a dozen words during the 15-minute proceeding. In a quiet, subdued voice, he told the judge he needs a court-appointed attorney and denied a preliminary hearing. I expect that we'll get more details about this when the grand jury convenes in April, but I am hopeful if this really is the guy and he really did the crime, I'm hopeful that he might confess or at least potentially tell authorities where Tara is located so she can be recovered and her family can properly mourn. But as of right now, there are no developments in that direction. For our final case, we are headed over to the other side of the world, Australia, for an update on missing person Karen Ristevski. Unfortunately, a body has been found at a location called Mount Macedon, and it has been confirmed that it is indeed Karen Ristevski. Here's an update from abc.net.au. Victoria police have confirmed human remains found at Mount Macedon on Monday are that of missing Avondale Heights woman Karen Ristevski. She was last seen at her home in Avondale Heights on June 29th of 2016. Here we get a screenshot of police working the location. Now, if you don't remember this case, there was a lot of suspicion around her husband, Boris. He had this really strange story that he had taken her Mercedes out for a drive on the day that she disappeared after they had an argument. And he was taking it out for a drive because something was wrong with the fuel gauge, but he hit a bump in the road and that seemed to fix it. Experts at a Mercedes service center said that would not help fix any problem with the fuel gauge. So a lot of suspicion has kind of been buzzing around him, and we do have some updates here as well. And we possibly have someone that might even be able to place her husband at the location. Jumping over to dailymail.co.uk. Businessman Gary Salt was on his way home after a party in the area in December of 2016 when his headlights illuminated a man walking out of the bush with a garden tool, actually a shovel, in his hand. So, where did you bury the body, mate? He asked from his car window, kind of just joking, and the man apparently didn't respond. An eerie coincidence has now evolved into a piece of the puzzle in Karen Ristevski's suspected murder investigation. He said he spotted a beanie-wearing man in his car headlights walking out of the scrub near Macedon Regional Park alone and carrying a shovel around midnight. Mr. Salt also claims he would have no trouble recognizing the man he saw. Now, of course, the time frame is a little different here. This happened in December. She went missing well before that, so I'm not exactly sure. I guess it potentially, if her husband did do this or whoever did do this, maybe they went back to the scene to try to bury her more properly or something along those lines. But it's very interesting that this is a story about a shovel, because we have some more details about a certain shovel coming up as well. Here's a shot of Karen with her husband and a note. Police have seized a shovel from the family home of Karen Ristevski. And we get a little more detail about how she was found. Apparently this is a picture of the actual area. Her body was in between these two very big logs that if you were walking beside, you wouldn't have even been able to see her in here. Luckily, a bushwalker was coming through this area. I believe he probably would have had to get up on top of these logs. This note down here is saying that you literally couldn't see the body unless you were standing directly above them. But thankfully, he did, and he found her. And here's a picture of her husband and daughter. This is back from around the time that she went missing. So, what other updates do we have? Another article from dailymail.co.uk. Mrs. Ristevski's husband of 25 years visited a lawyer on Wednesday morning. His lawyer said police have him as the prime suspect in her disappearance. Once again, this article mentions that the shovel was taken from their home, and they did perform some testing on the shovel, according to the Herald Sun. There was two types of soil on it. One of those types matched behind the family's home in Melbourne. The other matched soil found in the Gisborne, Macedon area, where her remains were found by a bushwalker. So, once again, I don't know how to quite handle this information. It's very suspicious to me that the shovel has soil that matches the area where her body was found. However, from what I understand about where her body was found, it wasn't necessarily buried. So I don't know if maybe he had been working on burying her, stopped for some reason. Maybe when he saw this guy that was driving around, the businessman that bumped into him, maybe that was enough to scare him out of the area, stop him from what he was doing. There's just something about the logic of how did the soil get on the shovel? It's a very, very strong question. I'm sure if any charges are pressed, it's going to be a key piece of evidence in this. But with how her body was found between two logs, I just have some questions about how valid that evidence might tie into the actual case. But I'll be sure to certainly keep an eye on it. Once her body was identified, a lot of well-wishers came to the family home, as well as some other relatives. There were many flowers being placed outside the gate. And out of the discovery of her body, a lot of family members start talking, particularly on social media, and maybe we get our first potential hint of a reason for this crime to have happened in the first place. Karen had a stepson that decided to kind of rant a little bit on Facebook, and some interesting information came out there. Karen's stepson, Anthony Rickard, who urged her killer to, quote, man up, come forward and confess to the crime on Facebook, also made some strange comments alluding to a possible affair between him and his stepmother. Quote, the only person who showed me true love, and I will always have a place for you in my heart. You were my one true soulmate, he wrote. Now, quite honestly, right up to the soulmate comment, I wasn't sure that there was anything alluding to anything improper going on here. But using the term soulmate, especially in the context of these Facebook messages, it certainly makes me think twice. And potentially, maybe there was something going on there. Maybe Boris found out about it. I don't know. But that's the first little inkling that we get. Outside of, we know that they were having financial trouble. We know that her businesses were not doing well. They seem to be under some heavy financial stress. But outside of that, this is the first inkling that something else was going wrong within their household. Also, one more detail in relation to her husband, Boris. Sources familiar with the investigation told Fairfax Media a tracking device police had fitted to a vehicle used by Mr. Ristevski either fell off or was removed. Tracking devices are routinely fitted to suspects' vehicles when police suspect foul play. The article also goes on to mention it seems like Boris stopped using cell phones. Maybe he was getting wise to the fact that people were actually watching and listening to his movements. So I'm not sure. When I made the original episode, I was very suspicious of him. And now, you know, we have a shovel that's found in their garage. It has soil that matches the area where her body was found. I think that suspicion has peaked even a little more. We know that he is being considered a suspect by police. How will all this shake out? I'm not sure, but I will keep an eye on it and we will keep you updated. Thank you so much for joining me on this Searchlight update. I appreciate each and every one of you out there. If you want to dig deeper into the things that we've covered today, I will have all the links for the stories that we've covered today in the description box below. And some of these are pretty big in terms of media, so you might just want to do some Google News searches and see if there's any recent developments as well. Of course, stay up to date on the channel here and I'll keep you updated. Take care, everyone, and I'll catch you on the next show on the Lord and Arts channel.